What is happening, everybody? Joelsuf coming your way. This is Joelsuf Free Books, The Nexus, Part 2 of 3. This is where I go over missed booking opportunities that WWE or TNA Wrestling or NWA or AEW or any given wrestling organization that has existed in the last 20 years and redo them. Very similar to what Adam does in Parts of Unknown and other fantasy bookers and stuff like that. Only different thing with me is that I don't have editors for my YouTube channel because I only have like 400 followers and I don't really have the budget to pay an editor. Even, I don't know, we'll see. But I don't know, there's probably some cheap editors out there, but whatever, I don't really care. I do my rebooking videos very similar to the private videos I've been putting out, which I'm going to be talking about in about a week from now, which is when this is going to conclude. And then on the day after, I'm going to talk about that. But yeah, where I have a Word document and I just write out whatever, all the events that take place. Yeah, that's how I'm going to do this. That's how I did the last one. Okay, and the last part, in part 1, I talked about their arrival until their matches at SummerSlam. To recap, their matches at SummerSlam was not one big tag team match like it was originally. It was a bunch of one-on-one matches, and whoever Nexus members won stayed on the Nexus. The ones who lost were fired. That was a deal that was made in between the general manager, Bret Hart, and Vince McMahon. And yes, I do have Bret Hart turn heel in this because he's still bitter about being screwed over by WWE. So I may as well, it's way more organic to have him, air that out and get that out of his system because if you watch Bret Hart in his shoot interviews, you will see that he is still very, even to this day, he's not a pleasant person. And, that's just how he was. And that was because of what happened to him in Survivor Series 1997. And he does carry that even, IRL, even in real life. I believe he still carries that and holds a grudge against WWE, even though WWE has inducted him into the Hall of Fame and they let him work with younger guys. And McMahon publicly apologized to him and let Bret Hart beat his ass at WrestleMania 26. That wasn't enough for Bret Hart, and you can hear it in his shoot interviews. So I said in my rebooking of Nexus, I said, what the fuck? Let's make him the manager, the sponsor of the Nexus. And so this part begins with the Raw after SummerSlam. Okay. Now, as of Raw after SummerSlam, we have the following people are in the Nexus. Are in the Nexus after, I'm just going to call it Slam. That's why I always called it, and I call Survivor Series. I call the Royal Rumble. I just can't, there's one syllable in Slam. There are how many more syllables in SummerSlam? It's like, what the hell? 4, right? SummerSlam? Yeah. So I'm just calling it Slam. Okay, we have Daniel Bryan. And this is going to be way different than the original Nexus. So, yeah. Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, who, in the way it was actually booked, was almost like was seduced into joining the Nexus, but he decided not to. But Sheamus was still a really developed bad guy. And no fan really liked him in 2010. So I said in the last part, screw it. Let's make him a member of the Nexus because it makes sense. He would be a really good enforcer figure for the Nexus. We have Sheamus, Wade Barrett, and also The Miz. Because who won the Money in the Bank 2010? Miz. Was Miz a good guy? No. Nobody liked The Miz in 2010. Nobody liked The Miz until 2013. You know what I mean? And even then, he had to get some cheap pops from his Go USA stuff. You know what I mean? Against Alberto Del Rio, I think, or someone else. I don't know. I think it was against I don't know. It was against someone who didn't like the USA. Because that's how you turn people good. You make them pro USA. That's how it is in wrestling. It's so stupid. But yes, I have him join the Nexus too. The notebook almost fell. See, I'm doing this DIY, one-man army here. So yeah. So I have him join the Nexus because it makes sense to him for him to have protection from the Nexus if he wants to have the money in the bank. And he still has the money in the bank, by the way. And Sheamus is not the... I don't think he's the world champion. I don't remember. Whatever. Anyways. And then we have Jake Hager. Yes. We do what we do 10 years earlier with Jack Swagger. In fact, on the Raw after SummerSlam... Swagger comes out. Well, the Nexus come out and review so at this time Nexus really wants CM Punk to join them. Like, Bret Hart knows. Bret Hart is like, look, CM Punk, if CM Punk joins the Nexus, if he joins us, then we're gonna be able to legitimately like take over all of WWE TV to where we could even change the name of the show. That is Bret Hart's goal with the Nexus. He wants the Nexus to consist of not just developmental guys. That's going to happen later. You'll see that will definitely happen later. It'll happen actually as this part concludes. But Bret Hart wants guys who should be established, but who WWE just does not like care for when it comes to their character, when it comes to their direction. You know, they want to make Jake Hager some jock, like second-rate Kurt Angle called Jack Swagger. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what happens. But before that, actually after that, because Jake Hager joins Nexus at SummerSlam. So yeah, that's right. Current. And just like what actually happened, he's still the current world champion. So, world champion. Swagger gets his name changed. It says he's Jake Hager now. Hager and is now Nexus. They review the I think it was a cage match that CM Punk had against Big Show. Cage match against Show at SummerSlam. And they see that Bryan is pretty hesitant in helping Punk. So they demand an explanation. They demand an explanation. They say, how come you're hesitating? Like, why were you doing that? Like, Bret Hart says that to Daniel Bryan. Bret Hart says, look, like, we're trying to make a statement here. Like, what's wrong? What's your malfunction, Daniel? Do you not like what you're doing? And Bryan says that what he's doing doesn't feel right. Hart says, oh, we can change that. Then Nexus beats up Bryan and kick him him out of the group. Hart then goes on to say, look, the Nexus is small now. It only has four people. But trust me, this 4 people is going to turn into 14, then it's going to turn into 40, and then but before they know it, WWE is going to have to. They won't have a choice but to recognize us. Like, that's what he says. That although Nexus is small now, it will become unnoticeably big by the end of 2010. Okay. And then just like what Nexus normally does, they interrupt matches and stuff like that. And John Cena even comes out and cuts a promo and says, "Hey, good look, guys. I know what you're trying to do. Like, you're new guys. You know, you want to make an impact, but this isn't the way to do it." And Hart goes, "You're not gonna stop us. Like, you're John Cena. It doesn't matter." And so the Nexus beat up John Cena, and people are like starting to get really scared of the Nexus. Okay, even if they only have 4 people, even if it's only Daniel Bryan. Sheamus, Wade Barrett, The Miz, and Jake Hager. Because The Miz has the Money in the Bank. Jake Hager has the world title. Sheamus has carried the WWE title on and off. Cena's the WWE champion at this point. So at SummerSlam, or at SmackDown after SummerSlam, McMahon comes out, starts the show saying that he can't fire Bret Hart because he gave Hart a 1-year contract. This was the time, I believe, when Hart as a GM was replaced with the laptop of death. Ooh. Oh, these were such terrible times. Oh, this WWE. This is when WWE for me became unwatchable, and I just left it in the background while I was doing homework and stuff, because I was still in college in 2010. This was when all of wrestling became practically unwatchable. It was when WWE came up with their stupid fucking laptop of death, and I think Teddy Hart was still the GM for SmackDown, but it didn't matter. Like, there shouldn't have been a brand split. It should have ended in like 2008 when Ruthless Aggression ended, because the brand split was pretty much, well, that was Ruthless Aggression, and Ruthless Aggression ended in 2008, in like the middle of 2008. So it's like, you can't know. Like, it was really bad. But what we're gonna do here is McMahon says you can't fire Bret because gave him a 1-year iron but what he can do is have co-GMs. And much love to Teddy Hart. I believe he was a GM at this time of SmackDown, but we're gonna make him work behind the scenes here, because Teddy Hart was a great GM. He was one of the best GMs ever. But I mean, by the time 2010 was ending, it was getting played out. You can only hear so much of, "Oh, we're gonna put you in a tag team match, and we're gonna put you against The Undertaker." We were hearing that for close to 5 years at this point with Teddy Hart. Or Teddy Hart Teddy Hart. Yeah, make Teddy Hart GM. No, with Teddy Long. So I think I was saying Teddy Hart the entire time, wasn't I? So with Teddy Long. So McMahon actually says that. McMahon says to Teddy Long, he says, "Look, you've been contributing a lot, but we need a GM who can stand up to Bret Hart." So says to Long, we need a GM to stand up to Hart, to Brett, and the Nexus. Therefore, the new co-GM for all of WWE is Shawn Michaels. Yes, Shawn Michaels becomes the co-general manager for WWE in starting at the SmackDown after SummerSlam. Now I know. Oh, we're just redoing Brett versus Shawn, but yes, that was because I'm not going to change history and say that all of 2010 wasn't like this, because it was. Look at WWE in 2010. You had guys coming out every week almost. You had legend guys coming out from like the 80s and 90s. Like on the Raw when Nexus appeared, they were doing a freaking They were doing a segment where Roddy Piper was calling out the actors of the new A-Team TV series who were the guest hosts. Like WWE this was when WWE really started to bleed out their guys from the past. You know what I mean? And you're seeing it now with The Undertaker. You're seeing it now with Triple H. You're seeing it now with Edge and Randy Orton. You know, guys who 15 years ago were at their prime. Well, that's more for Edge and Orton, not as much for Triple H and Undertaker. I would say Undertaker was at his best in like right before 2000, and I'd say that Triple H was also at his best right before 2000. But still, and then Steve Austin and stuff like that. So we had this. That's not going to change because that's how WWE is. They rely on the past way too much, and we started seeing this 10 years ago. So I fight that. Why not redo Brett versus Shawn and do it in a different way where they're now feuding GMs? So, yeah. So Michaels is also the final guest host. Yes, no more guest hosting after SummerSlam 2010. I never liked the guest host concept. Like literally the only good one was Bob Barker. All the other ones were awful. Like all of the other ones were just terrible. Like I sat through the Raw where Nexus appeared, and those those new A-Team actor people were like, what the fuck? They had no idea. They had no idea what they were doing. They had no business being on a wrestling TV screen. They really didn't. They just didn't. They were awful. Okay? They sucked. And that's what made TNA a little bit more watchable than WWE at that point. Even though TNA Wrestling was the Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff show for like the entire year of 2010, at least they had a background in wrestling. The guest hosts, 95% of them, from all the way from the beginning of 2009 until I think like, Jesus Christ, maybe the middle of 2011 before CM Punk's pipe bomb, you had incompetent figure after incompetent figure after incompetent figure who had zero background in wrestling getting segment time. Fuck that. That is ending in this rebooking of the Nexus. Okay? And you'll see that. And that's why I forgot to mention that. Like, in all these TV shows before this particular show, you see the Nexus doing that. Like, they're beating up the guest hosts. And they're saying, you don't belong here. You're not a wrestler. You're not a sports entertainer. None of that. But anyways, so Brett is furious about this. But has a plan. He comes out with Nexus. Says that McMahon made the biggest mistake of his life life, and it will cost him. Literally. Michael says to Hart, look, let's not make this, not repeat what we went through. Let's make this about guys 15 years younger than us. Brett says, why not have it both ways? Then Nexus beat up as Brett stares into the camera and says, the Stampede is coming. The Nexus Stampede is coming, whether you like it or anyone likes it or doesn't like it. Okay, so this builds up of a big storyline heading towards Night of Champions, and then the pay-per-view after that's going to be Survivor Series. So at the TV shows in the TV shows before Night of Champions, following stuff happens. So, oh wait, yeah, shit, I forgot about that. Whoops. I forgot my notes. Yeah, Hager lost the title to Rey Mysterio at SummerSlam. My bad. So, Jake Hager wants his title back. Miz wants to win the WWE title with his Money in the Bank, and he's just figuring out a way to do that. Sheamus and Wade Barrett, they wanted to get the tag team titles because Sheamus was not ready for the WWE title in 2010. He wasn't even ready for the WWE title 5 years after. He's never ready for the WWE title because no. Anyways. Yeah. Only reason why he won the titles that early was because he was Triple H's workout partner. Like, you can look and shoot interviews about that. That's the only reason. Sheamus is not a good performer. And I met the guy. He's a good dude. I even told him this in person. I said, look, I asked him, I said, did you enjoy your push, like, when you first joined WWE? He's like, not really, fella. I go, it must have been a lot of pressure since you were, so young or whatever. He's like, all I wanted to do was just put on good matches. And then I knew about his match against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 27. He's like, yeah, that sucked. He's like, I really wish it was televised because we put on a good match. And I was like, he really, even Sheamus himself was just like, he did not really care for being pushed so hard. And all he wanted to do was just have fun and have good matches. He never wanted to have multiple title reigns and stuff like that. And he was a horrible good guy, too. Like, horrible. And I met him because I was working out at a gym that he was at. He was going to when WWE did a house show here about 5 or so years ago. I met him and I met Ryback. And they were both, like, overhead pressing, like, what I could squat. And it was crazy. But that's because they're wrestlers. But yeah, so it was cool meeting them. But anyways, that side note out of the way. A few things happened on the TV shows before Night of Champions. So Michaels wants to give Nexus a fair shake. He says this to Brett. He says, look, I appreciate the fact that you want to build with Nexus. I want Hager to prove himself as a worker. He's going to have to earn that. Sorry, I'm crawling. World title back. And by this time, I think Edge got another injury, so I don't think I don't know if he won or not. I don't remember what was going on with Edge. Jericho was gone. I knew that. But he still had a few, like, former world champions. The Big Show, Mark Henry, John Cena, stuff like that. We're not going to push those guys. They're too old. We're not going to have Big Show win any more titles. Mark Henry will still have the Hall of Pain. That's still going to happen. That was a year after this. Okay? That was a year after this. And yes, I'm going to rebook the Hall of Pain. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be fantastic. As far as John Cena, he's not going to have another title for a very long time. Okay? Like, everyone was sick of John Cena. In fact, Cena's going to get kayfabe injured. And he's not going to come back until Royal Rumble 2011. Okay? And in fact, that's the kind of statement that gets made here. So puts Hager in a match against former world champions. And if he loses just one, he loses his shot at Mysterio for at Night of Champions. It's the same with Sheamus and Barrett against tag team I honestly forget who the tag team champions were in this era. That's how much of a blur, like, 2010 was to me. The only thing I really remembered was the Nexus was beating people up, and John Cena joined them, and then John Cena got fired, and then he came back as a member of the Nexus, and then squashed them anyways at the end of the year, which was really stupid. That was really dumb. That's not going to happen. It's rebooking at all. No. And it's the same with Miz. Same with Miz. If he loses one match, he has to put up at Night of Champions. Brett actually agrees to this. He says, you know what? Our guys are going to prove that they are better, way better than they were booked before they all joined us. Before they all joined me. Okay? They're going to all prove that. They're going to prove that. And if they don't prove it, then they'll prove it at Night of Champions. In Miz's case. You know, if Miz goes, I'll be able to keep this Money in the Bank as long as I want. I may even cash it in an exact year after I win it. You know, I might actually go the entire year. You know, and Sheamus and Barrett, you know, they say, they can just steamroll through everybody. They don't need the Nexus's help. And it's true. You see that. The Nexus guys go on a big winning streak. They all win their matches without any interference. Guys win their matches clean. Cena gets kayfabe injured at the go-home show before Night of Champions. He'll be back at Rumble. Okay, so and during that match also, during the ref a little faster when Hager goes for the pin. But it's like very unnoticeable. It's like you don't notice it at all. So yeah, that's what happens at the go home show. And so I gotta scratch that. That's fine. Alright, so Night of Champions 2010. So Drew McIntyre, who has always been interested in joining Nexus, but not really. He's been on the fence. We're gonna put just like Sheamus was put on the fence in what actually happened. We're gonna put Drew McIntyre on the fence when it comes to joining Nexus. He's gonna be the one who's unsure. But after the Nexus interfere, Drew McIntyre Truth and Evan Bourne whoops. Yeah. So the only title really that isn't involved in Nexus stuff is the IC title. And that was held by Drew McIntyre, and he's just kind of, he's just doing his thing. You know what I mean? Or retains. He retains against. There you go. Okay, cool. Again, I wish I had editors so I didn't have to write all this out, but whatever, I don't care. Alright. US title. Bryan, who won the title at one of the TV shows. Oh, I have Barrett here. Whoops. Ooh. Man. Mark Henry. Yeah, that'll work. Because the end of 2010 is going to be the beginning of Mark Henry's Hall of Pain. And it's actually going to start proper in 2011, of course. That's when the actual Hall of Pain starts. But you see it now, like the frustration that Mark Henry has. You know what I mean? So Daniel Bryan retains against Mark Henry. Dude, like 4 times his size. And Daniel Bryan gets that opportunity to be a champion at the U.S. title because he trained under Shawn Michaels. So Shawn Michaels says, yeah, I'll give you a shot at the title. Why not? You deserve it, kid. I trained you. Alright, tag titles. Sheamus and Barrett. They defeat the Usos. We're going to give the Usos an early push here. Just a transitional push. That's all. They won the tag titles at like one of the Raws before, or one of the SmackDowns before Night of Champions against the Hart Dynasty, whatever. And the Hart Dynasty, by the way, they I think Harry Smith is like out of the company by 2011, so he's done. And Tyson Kidd, I think, got sent back to developmental, whatever, that kind of stuff. Might have Tyson Kidd join Nexus. See? Don't know. Nexus is going to grow a lot after Survivor Series. Ladies title. Michelle McCool retains against Kelly, and something crazy happens during that match. You'll find that one. World title. Alright, and Hager beats Mysterio. And WWE title. Orton retains against Miz, who got the title shot. He got a title shot. It was not from his Money in the Bank. It was just because he won lots of matches. So, yeah. And Miz is about to cash in his Money in the Bank right after Orton wins. And the Nexus come out after the match. And they say, no. You need to wait for this. Because you need to wait until all the other guys have their titles. And the WWE title was defended, not at the end of the show. That was the world title that was defended at the end of the show. So they didn't know. And you're going to see. So, yeah. So now, well, actually, let's go with what happens at the show itself. So before the show starts, Michaels, oh my God, says to Brett that Nexus can be at ringside for, oh my God, for exactly one match. That's it. Just one. You choose. And to make things fair, for anyone who goes up against Nexus. So Hart chooses the world title match, obviously, and Michaels chooses the tag team title match. And during the ladies title, you see something like what happened when ECW was invading WWE in '97. So during the ladies title match, you see Naomi, AJ Lee, and Caitlyn, because we're not going to have an NXT Season 2 or Season 3. NXT is completely taken off the air at this point. Because McMahon's like, yo, no. Because that's how the Nexus started. Like, we're not going to have this again. Are you kidding me? And by the way, NXT Season 2 and Season 3 were awful. They had no ratings. Season 3 was on for like 3 episodes. And then the rest you had to watch online on WWE's YouTube page. That's how bad that was. So instead, we're gonna put the 3 most capable performers on that show to mess with Michelle McCool and Kelly during the ladies' title match. And after Michelle McCool retains her title, by the way, it's just gonna be the ladies' title or women's title. It's not gonna be the fucking Divas title anymore. That thing's gonna get retired immediately. Because I hate the Divas title. I oh my God. It's just WWE was so cringe in late 2010. The only thing good about it was Nexus. Everything else was awful. So you see them messing with both competitors. They stare at McCool after the match as if to say, "You owe us." Like all three of them are kind of like eyeballing Michelle McCool as Michelle McCool's walking away. They're like, and they just all three of them all nod at her and stuff like that. And you hear the announcers going, "Oh, I wonder if that was like maybe her friends or something that she bought tickets for," because Michelle McCool was still, she was still bad. You know what I mean? So yeah. So Raw after. So Brett is celebrating. Then calls out says to her the reason why you retained your title was because of the 3 women that I hired this morning. Which are AJ Lee, Caitlyn, and Naomi. Whoops. So the 3 surround, but then reveals that she's also Nexus. Because Michelle McCool was like pretty much, other than, we'll say, Mickie James, who left WWE when 2009 ended, I think. Something like that. I don't remember seeing her much in WWE in 2010. Besides her and Gail Kim, who I believe was still in WWE for a little bit, but then I believe she left for TNA Wrestling at the end of 2010, so I don't have her here. Anyways, yeah. So we're going to have Michelle McCool be part of the Nexus. So now Nexus has female talent. Now they got AJ Lee, they got Caitlyn, they got Naomi, and Michelle McCool, who is now the ladies champion. So there you go. So now the SmackDown after Night of Champions. McMahon makes an appearance. Says that Nexus is very similar to the Alliance. So he wants to do something about it at Survivor Series. So he proposes this. If Nexus wins more matches than WWE, they get 1 hour on each TV show to do whatever they want. Both Brett and Michaels agree to this. And this is where you start seeing Nexus recruit. Okay? This is where a lot of mid-card bad guys join the Nexus. And it's like I said about Tyson Kidd. The first person to join Nexus is Tyson Kidd. So So in TV before, a bunch of people join Nexus. So Drew McIntyre is the first one. Drew McIntyre, Tyson, Natalia Neidhart. So the Hart Dynasty comes back home. They say to Brett, they say, "Wow, we understand what you're doing here now. We understand. Wow, that's cool. We're gonna have Stampede Wrestling now for at least 2 hours every week. That's gonna be awesome, you know." And CM Punk doesn't join yet. He'll still join at the end of 2010. He's still there, you know. And Zack Ryder, he joins. And Miz brings in a guy who Miz says to Brett, "Hey, look, there's this one dude who I met at like a signing like way back in 2008 when I was still part of still part of Morrison, whatever, still part of that, and like he was interested in being a wrestler, and I still have his contact information, and he's been training and stuff like that in the places I was training at, which was in like I think Southern California. He was doing that during the Real World. A lot of people don't know that about Miz. He's like, look, give him a shot, and that guy is Alex Riley. Yeah. Alex Riley, Bray Wyatt. And yes, he's actually called Bray Wyatt here. We're not going to give him... It's not going to be... What was it? Husky Harris? Was Husky Harris. My God. And Bray Wyatt joins. Joe Hennig. And yes, he's actually going to be Joe Hennig and not fucking... What was his name? Mike McGillicuddy? And he had that really bad promo on NXT Season 2. No. Was it the moment of McGillicuddy? From here on, oh my God. I should like redo that promo. I should like... I should reenact that promo. No. He's not going to do any talking. Not for a while. Not ever, probably. And, surprisingly enough, because he was still in the company, Senshi or Kaval, was it? Whatever. I'm just calling him Senshi. So, and then you got the four girls. You got AJ Lee, you got Caitlyn, Naomi, and Michelle McCool. Michelle McCool also... Okay, yeah. Michelle McCool also kind of says to Layla, "Look, Nexus is all right. You know, and we can stop being pieces of meat for these guys because we're better than all them. You know, let's actually get out there and let's actually put on good matches and stuff." And so, so we'll put that. So, what was it? Layla, yeah. And a bunch of other girls probably, but that doesn't really matter because, I mean, at this time in 2010, ladies wrestling in WWE was... No. It was awful. So bad. I feel so bad for the ladies of WWE in 2010, man. I really do. So bad, man. Man. It's like, come on. And yeah, so... Now we're going to go to the go-home shows before series. So Go Home Raw. So Go Home Raw after series. Or before. Shit. So you see Brett talking to somebody on the phone. Sorry about what happened in May. McMahon was in my ear, and it was my first day. Things have changed now, and you should come see. I'll give you a front row seat. And he's hinting to Batista after he fired Batista, or after he said to Batista, "Oh, I know you're injured, but you still got to face Randy Orton for that fatal 4-way thing." And that was right before Nexus joined. And then Batista quit, whatever, that kind of stuff. So yeah. So let's see. All right, yeah. So and that nothing else happens. But then at the SmackDown, but yeah, okay, you do see Batista at the Raw at the Raw before Survivor Series, but like he's not really noticeable. Like fans do kind of pop for him a little bit, but like the camera like pans away real fast to make sure that no one on TV like actually sees him. So yeah. And then the announcers actually go, "Wait a minute, is that Batista? That couldn't be Batista, could it?" You know, that kind of stuff. And so Brett and Nexus come out. This notebook, man, I swear. And they new member Batista. Batista gets on the mic and says, "There's only one guy who I want to face. I don't care about titles. I care about making sure that same guy who held me down 5 years ago gets beaten by me." Excuse the stuff in the background. Whatever. Crowded apartment. What can I tell you? Comes out and says, "Careful what you wish for, because now you have it." Triple H comes out to a pretty massive pop because it's Triple H. Gonna have him come out early. We're gonna have him come back early because he came back in early 2011 to go against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 27. We're gonna have him put on a few more matches here before that happens, and that will happen. Still gonna have that match. Still gonna book that for WrestleMania 27. Although it's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna be way different, actually. It's not gonna end the way it ended. No. But still, it's gonna happen. Triple H comes out, says that Batista And that ends the night. And that ends part 2. Wow, this one went for a very long time. Sorry about that, everybody. But yeah, so that's part 2 of the Nexus. So you see the Nexus get a lot more people in their group, and what I'm going to do is for Survivor Series, I'm going to book a whole bunch of matches between, of course, WWE and Nexus, and now you're going to have 2 separate sides. This is where everything's going to get split into 2 now. Now you're going to have the WWE, and you're going to have a Nexus. And Nexus is going to be a lot more than just a bunch of bad guys, even though right now it is still kind of a bunch of bad guys. But after Survivor Series, you will see that that's not going to be the case. Alright, I'm done. We got people doing the sidewalks outside my apartment, so that's going to be messing with the video, so I guess now's a good time to stop playing my video. Alright, we're recording it. Hope you all enjoyed. I know there's no editing and stuff, but whatever, I don't really care. It's like more of a podcast-y kind of deal, which I don't know. I'm having fun doing this series. The series will conclude next Monday. Stay tuned. Take care, everybody.